right, good afternoon. Aloha.
Aloha.
Okay, so, it actually works best if you guys ask questions. So, I'm just gonna just talk about Hōkūle'a and kind of her history, and then what we've been doing on this voyage that started in 2014. We left here in May of 2014, and we'll come back to Hawaii in a couple months, June 17th. This voyage is called Mālama Honua, and Mālama means to care for, take care of something, and Honua is earth, island earth. So as far as with the science and the knowledge we have today, we understand that Earth, this planet, is a fixed system. It is an island. It's a fixed system. The weather and the atmosphere is, circles around the Earth. Like they're finding a lot of deposits, little grains of whatever, sand and stuff, they're depositing in Hawaii and even the West Coast, coming from China, stuff like that. The currents of the oceans probably take a couple years, like 5 years, to make a complete circle around. So like in Japan, they collect underwater fresh water and they bottle it for drinking. That started off in Finland, of the glaciers that melted in Finland. So we know that the Earth is a fixed system. It's all circulating, it's all, what happens in other parts of the planet affects us here. And so the whole idea is Mālama Honua, to care for the earth. And how we're gonna do that is just through knowledge, gaining knowledge, sharing knowledge, and especially taking that knowledge and infusing it and making it a part of the education system. So the younger kids now, when they grow up, they understand the world like how scientists have been understanding the world for like the last 5-10 years. And so their ability to live on Earth and how all the little things they do make a difference. So that's how you start ratcheting back things for health. So we'll talk and this is right off shore outside here. Okay, let's see. So Hōkūle'a and the birth of Hōkūle'a and the birth of voyaging started with a vision like this. This is an art by Herb Kane, and in the stories of and all the songs and legends and chants throughout the Pacific, it always refers to these canoes and the navigators who guided these canoes across this great expanse. So if you take the Polynesian Triangle that starts up north up here in Hawaii, and it goes down to the southeast, down to Easter Island or Rapa Nui, and across to the southwest to New Zealand, you have over 7 million square miles of ocean in that area. And these canoes, just like this, they travel the seas back and forth, migrations, trading, sharing knowledge. Canoes came up here from Tahiti to with healers to teach healing arts, and then they went back home and things like that. So there's a lot of movement of that. But the actual sailing died off somewhere in the 14th or 15th century. It just kind of stopped, almost wholesale, in all the islands. So Hawaii, Marquesas, Tahiti, Samoa, New Zealand, Tonga, Rapa Nui, it all kind of stopped. And nobody knows why. And then when Captain Cook and those guys came into the Pacific in like the 1770s, they one thing that they had no clue, about the people here. But one thing that struck him as an amazing thing was like in his third voyage into the Pacific, his third voyage now, is when he stumbled upon the Hawaiian Islands by accident. And he recognized that the language was common. The Hawaiian language was common. He understood, he could speak Tahitian, he understood Maori, and he'd been to Samoa and Tonga, and the language was very similar, and he understood the language was the same. So these are the same people. But how the heck did these guys get way up here in Hawaii, so far removed from down there? And that was a big mystery. So then you, so in the 1770s, if you fast forward to 1950s, you guys, anybody ever heard of Kon-Tiki? Thor Heyerdahl did a voyage in the 50s, called it Kon-Tiki. Basically, he built a raft, put a big square sail on it, and he went from Peru, and he just went with all the currents and the winds, and he went west until a wave picked him up, and he went over the falls on this one atoll called Aroya in Tuamotus. And he considered that a successful landfall of migration. But it was kind of like not too sharp, because after his raft broke and everything like that, he ain't going no place. So that was his version of how the Pacific Islands were populated. And I mean, he pushed that one hard for a long time. And somewhere in the 60s, there was another guy who was an armchair historian from New Zealand, Andrew Sharp. He said that these guys probably could navigate maybe 300 miles. And then after that, wherever the wind and the currents took them, that's where they ended up. But it doesn't, even that story doesn't make sense, right? Because from here to Tahiti, it's 2,500 miles. So if you're going to believe Andrew Sharp, you can sail for 300 miles, and then the other 2,200 miles, you're just going all over the place, and the wind and the current's going to take you all over the place, and that's that. That's kind of a bunch of rubbish, because canoes went back and forth. There's tons of names of navigators. So you got one guy, Hawaii Loa, Maweke, Waihialoa, Pa'ao, Moikeha, and the names go on and on and on and on and on of all the different canoes. And that's only come to Hawaii. If you name all the hundreds of canoes that went to New Zealand to migrate and settle over there, it's like amazing. So with that vision, we started the voyaging. At the heart of the voyaging, at the heart of anything you do, any kind of science, any kind of project, you have to have a plan. You have to know what you're doing, and there has to be a body of knowledge that can support that plan and the success of that plan. And just part of it is was understanding the heavens, understanding the stars. So this is a Kilo Hoku. He's an astronomer. He understands the heavens. You know, back in '74, when Hōkūle'a was first built, and the whole idea of relearning or rediscovering how to navigate by the stars, the sun, the moon, the ocean swells, it was like too far out for most people to think. You know, we're used to compass. Yeah, then after compass came the GPS, and now everybody just looks at their screen, gives them a number, and they go. They don't even think, right? But now, we know the stars, we know the movement of all the heavenly bodies, we know how to use ocean swells to navigate, and we're teaching it to the fourth generation now. So the guys who are actually right now, Hokulea is on its way from Galapagos Islands off of South America down to Easter Island. And they'll probably be there in about a week or so. There's 4 navigators on board. They're all younger than 30. And they started learning this knowledge probably about 6 years ago, while they're still in their mid-20s. So we're teaching all this stuff to the, this next generation, and they're good. These are the founders of the society. This was Herb Kane, who just did the art you saw. Awesome guy. This is Ben Finney. He was an archaeologist and anthropologist. So they study cultures. And he wasn't buying any of, as a young student in Santa Barbara and Tahiti, he wasn't buying any of Thor Heyerdahl's theories about rafts and stuff like that. And he sure wasn't buying that other rubbish from Andrew Sharp about only being able to go 300 miles. This is Tommy Holmes. He was a local guy in Hawaii, very influential in canoes and canoe paddling and canoe design and the histories of canoes. So they got together, and they 1973, long time ago, huh? And they built, they created the Polynesian Voyaging Society, and they built this canoe, Hōkūle'a. You guys know what beach this is?
Is it over there by Chinaman's Hat?
Yeah.
That's by Corridor.
How can you recognize that beach?
The mountain.
Oh, yeah. But there's no beach left. You know why? Huh? No.
The island sinking.
No. The sea level is rising. Global warming. So global warming, so it brings us back, that whole idea brings us back to Mālama Honua, caring for island Earth. Global warming. So a lot of the beaches that used to be real wide like this, they're gone. Waimanalo Beach when we were kids was wide. Now at high tide, it's like banging up against by where all the trees and stuff are, and where all those ironwood trees, a lot of them, you just see the roots sticking out from the bank. Kailua, same way. Yeah. So we know that global warming and the sea level rise is a real thing. But our friend Donald Trump, he doesn't believe that. You know, him and his guys, they think it's not real. Anyway, so this is March 8th, 1975. That's when the canoe was built. And the amazing thing about it, this canoe was built for one voyage, to sail to Tahiti and to sail back, and to rediscover and to document, really. It wasn't even to learn it. It was to rediscover and document navigation in the old style. And we're lucky to have met this man. His name is Mau Pius Pialug. He's from a small island in Satawal called Satawal in Micronesia. And he was one of the last guys, the last navigators, that learned from masters to apprentice, to master to apprentice for like 2,000 years in their area, in their islands. And the reason they were the last guys, because when he was young, World War II came into the Pacific, and the Japanese came into Micronesia and occupied all the islands and locked them all down, and nobody could sail, and they basically couldn't do anything. And then at the end of World War II, when the Americans had gone through and liberated, everybody and got the Japanese out of there, the Americans put in their whole system of government, education, and all of this. And so it was never the same. The island was never the same. So what he was finding is that his sons and that generation below him, it wasn't important already. Navigation wasn't important. They weren't using it anymore. They weren't learning it. And they would take all the youngsters from his small island, they put them onto a bigger island for school, and all the teachers were Americans. And they taught them all the American history and all this kind of stuff. Nothing even pertains to their world. Nothing even pertains to living on their islands and their world anymore. So it's a big change. But anyway, this guy is amazing. So if you think about Mao, you think as a navigator. As a navigator, what tools do you need? You need a compass, right? So your compass is what's around you, what nature provides, right? All heavenly bodies. So during the day, it's the sun. It's also the moon during the day. At night, it's over 200 stars, and it's the moon and the planets. And it's also what surrounds you, the ocean swells, and how to read the ocean swells to maintain your direction. And it's the clouds, and it's the wind, and it's also seabirds and different sea life. But that's all part of your compass. So you got to have the compass. You got to have a way to monitor your speed, so you know how fast you're going. So at the end of the day, you know how far you've gone on your track. So say if you're trying to go 200 miles, yeah, and if you're going a steady speed of 5 knots, at the end of from sunrise to sunset, 12 hours, you've gone 60 miles. So you know you still got 140 miles to go. And so you keep track of all of this. Sometimes you're faster, sometimes you're slower, but you do it by keeping track of your wake, and by you kind of get a feel, you know, for your boat. And those are your basic tools. Whoa. Okay. So this is Hokulea on their way to Tahiti. They left Maui. They left Honolulu Bay on Maui on May 1st, 1976. And Mao was navigating. It was documented. It was awesome. This is their arrival in Tahiti. So you can see, you know, this voyage wasn't only about, wasn't a Hawaiian thing. It was really a rebirth or a new look, you know, at our world. Who are we? And, you know, the validity of culture in life, all cultures, right? And so that's why now people ask, what's the most, why is Hōkūle'a important? Why is relearning your culture important? Well, that's a great question. Anybody got an answer for that? Yeah.
Where you come from, we should be passing this down on generations and generations. It's what you were made of. It's it's basically your culture, and it's what you came about. It's what your whole family came about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Culture doesn't die. You don't teach it to the next person. They don't have to know anything about their past.
Exactly. And so you hear in songs when people sing about, you know, where they're from, their ancestry, you know, whether it's in, you know, New Zealand, whether it's in Ireland, whether it's in Scotland, whether it's in Germany, whether it's in China or Japan, it doesn't matter. You know, that's their common heritage. That's who they are. Yeah, that's where they find their strength and understanding of their ancestry and their tie to that land and everything that shaped that culture and that land and those people. That's their strength. That's why it's important to understand that and then to celebrate it. Yeah, and it doesn't make you separate from anybody else, except from, you know, we're all humans. We all carry the same values. We all have the same failings. We all have the same strengths. There's a more commonality amongst all races and humans than there's differences. But at the core of that, there is identity, right? And so that's where all of this came in. And you know, at this point in time, the classic thing about this point in time is Tahiti was a foreign land to us guys in Hawaii. Yeah, when we grew up, we never, I mean, nobody ever went anywhere, but we never know about Tahiti. We didn't know about the other islands. We knew some Tahitians, but we didn't look at them like our cousins, you know, family and stuff like that. But when you go to these islands, and again, the language is the same, the names are the same. Not only the names of a lot of the villages and the coastlines and the mountains, but the people. There's one common name, Paua. You guys ever heard that name before, Paua? Yeah. So you go to all these islands, like right now we're going to Easter, the canoe's on our way to Easter Island. There's a Paua clan in Easter Island. In the Cook Islands, there's a Paua clan. In Maori, there's the whole tribe called Ngati Paua. And then in Tahiti and all these islands, there's a Paua clan. So you see the connection throughout Polynesia. This is Hōkūle'a coming back home after that voyage. And then we continued to, it was interesting because the voyage, like I said, was only, the canoe was built for just one voyage. Go down to Tahiti, come back, document the navigation, thank you very much, put it in a book, and be able to explain to everybody that it's real. That was that. But then we kept it alive. There was a bunch of guys, there's a small group of guys that kept it alive. And we had to, time to move forward and make room. And that's when I got involved. I got involved right after that in '77. You guys know the story of 1978 when Hōkūle'a sailed and she went into the, into the Kaiwi Channel. And then she's one whole swamp. She turned over. Eddie Aikau got on his surfboard, went to paddle to the island of Lanai, and he got lost at sea. Got lost at sea, yeah. So after that, we need to rethink what we're doing and our goals and purposes, safety and all that. And this gentleman, Myron Pinky Thompson, stepped in to help guide the Hokulea and the Voyaging Society at that point. And so this is Dainoa Thompson. Dainoa became the first navigator from Hawaii in over 500 years to learn the art and to practice it and to actually make landfall. And this is in that 1980 voyage. So on board, you know, we got 3 steering paddles. We got this one here, this one in the middle, and then we got this, yeah? On board, we have usually have 12 people. So one's a captain, one's a navigator, and then they're usually they don't have a watch, they're just running everything. And then you have 3 watch captains, so you have 3 watches. They're 4-hour watches. So if this was one watch here, you guys would be on from like 6 a.m. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Then this is what you guys would be doing. You guys would be steering, working together, handling the sails, and just keeping everything safe. 10 o'clock, the next gang comes on. They go from 10 to 2 for 4 hours. And then 2 o'clock, the next gang comes on, 2 to 6. And then you swing back around at 6 p.m. for the next, these guys come back on watch. And so that's how it's run. And it's going, you know, I mean, 24/7, it just, sails are set, we're making tracks, and we're on our way. This is one of our, we talked about some of the tools you need for navigating. Anybody recognize this manu? Yeah. It's called a ferry turn or a manu oku. It's a seabird, but it lives and nests on land. So it comes back to land every day. Then early in the morning, it goes out to, it makes its living off of the sea, fish, squid, and whatever. Then in the evening, it comes back in. But this one, and there's another one called a noyo. It's a brown noddy that help the navigators find the islands. Yeah, so when you cannot see the island and you see these birds, if you watch their flight in the morning and their flight in the evening as they go back home, it helps you to, find the island. This is arrival. So, let's step back a little bit. So 1976, we went to Tahiti and back. And then 80, Nainoa Thompson successfully navigated Hōkūle'a down to Tahiti and back. First Hawaiian navigator. 1985, we sailed down to Aotearoa, down to New Zealand. And the classic part about all of this is that we're still in the phase of, we're learning how to sail. We're learning all about the navigation. We're learning about the Pacific. And the Maoris, who I mentioned earlier, hundreds of canoes went down there. They have a rich heritage. Any Maoris in the room? They have a rich heritage. And if you know any Maoris, you ask them what canoe they're descended from. And they'll tell you. They'll tell you, my canoe, yeah.
How long have you been doing this sort of work?
Since 77. So this year is 40 years.
This is for, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Is it the same boat that they first made, or is
Same boat. But, yeah, same boats. But what we did was, the canoe is put together like a puzzle. So a lot of the pieces, most of the pieces are brand new. But the hull, the basic hull down below is the same hull. Yeah.
How historic? I know everything is more of a modern age now, but how historically correct is everything rigged up?
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Mean. So, let me go back a little bit. So you see all this? This is all lashing. Your guys was coming down there. The guys from Habilitat was coming down. There was a crew came down every weekend and helped us for over a year. There's over 6 miles of lashing line on this canoe. It took us months to lash this canoe. And there's not one nail, there's not one piece of glue or screw or anything. Imagine that, guys. Now we've sailed, right now, we've sailed over 40,000 miles in the last 3 years through all kind of oceans. Yeah. And she took a lot of stress, and a bit of abuse, and a lot of big seas, but the thing is still she's still tight. So that's part of it, is the lashing, the way she's put together. So that kind of accuracy you're talking about. The steering, the way she's steered, that's another big part of it. There's no other craft that's steered like that. And then the navigation. Yeah.
What type of wood you guys use?
This is all modern wood. So this is all local wood here. How the one here, on the ones on the side is ohia.
For the canoe itself.
The canoe itself is plywood and fiberglass. Yeah.
You guys went and chisel that out?
No. They just kind of like, they made a frame. They made a frame like this, and it's only 1/4-inch plywood. They put it at an angle like this, and one like this, and like that. So a lot of people, they wonder, wow, why is it plywood and fiberglass? I said, because it was built for one voyage. It was built to go sail and document. Yeah. Do you have a question?
When you say, what do you call it, lashing? Like, what is it? I heard you, I kind of tried to put it together when you said no screws, no glue. What is that? What, I don't know what that, what's lashing mean? Like, where you just put
Yeah.
it fits?
So you see,
I'm just curious.
I don't know if I have a, so you see like all this. You see this, the way the rope is, this cordage is wrapped around there.
Yeah,
And you can see it here
yeah,
and here and there.
yeah.
So you put all these wood pieces together and then you lash them.
Oh.
Yeah, the rope, the line goes around and just binds it all together. Yeah.
Where does the name of the boat come from and what does it mean?
So Hōkūle'a is the name of a star. It's a star Arcturus. And the significance of it is really bright. You can see it in the sky now at night. But it goes right over the big island of Hawaii. So it's a zenith star that marks the Hawaiian Islands. So when you're down south, it's like a beacon. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
How long does it take to build a boat? I'm sorry. How long does it take for you folks to build a boat like that?
Well, it depends on what kind of material you use, right? So when they built Hōkūle'a, you know, to launching, I think it took close to a year. And mainly because nobody had built a canoe like that in like hundreds of years. When they built Hawaii Loa was another one, maybe close to a year, because you got to build all the parts, yeah? You cannot just, you don't just go to something, I need so many of this and so many of this, and you put it together. No. You build the hull, then the cross members, the yako, you put them on, you got to fit them. Everything on every boat, because there's no square edges and all of that, everything is customized. So it takes a while. So it takes at least a year. Yeah.
Now, the original pieces that you guys have from like, you guys have original pieces from like older boats that have been made?
From the canoe, we have a few, but they're not on board though. I mean, we still have them, but they're
No,
not
I'm
on
saying,
board.
like, just in general, you guys, like you said, they're not on board. So you guys do have like, off the original one, do you guys have like off the original one and stuff like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So you guys rode this thing, or is it engine?
No, only sailing.
Huh?
Only sail. All sail. I mean, you know, she's like fully loaded. It's like 12.5 tons. So, yeah, with the good sail, but paddling ain't gonna happen. Yeah.
You traveled on some of the journeys yourself.
Yeah.
As a Hawaiian, how did that make you feel about your heritage?
Well, it makes me feel awesome about my heritage because, you know, when we were young, we didn't know anything, you know? And when we were young in the University of Hawaii system, they didn't have anything. You know, if you want to take Hawaiian studies, there's one class, and all you did is read a book. And a lot of the books are written by like historians from like Australia, or you know some other haole guys who did they went and studied and then they wrote the book, right? But now you go to the University of Hawaii now, the Hawaiian Studies campus. They have a campus. It's like amazing, and they're graduating students with PhDs, and these guys are rewriting the story because you know they know the language. And the research that they're doing is unreal. So we've learned so much, but Hōkūle'a has been at the forefront of that. So it's been unreal to learn about this because, you know, like we talked about identity and all of that, but now is the time to share. Yeah, for us guys, it's time to share and stuff like that. And you can see the Hawaiian culture now being spoken not as an ancient culture or the ancient Hawaiians and stuff. No, it's a living culture that's being practiced daily on so many fronts. Right? Yeah.
You sail with Uncle Buff then when you sail across on Hokulea?
No, Uncle Buffalo, Carolina, and those guys were the first voyage.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but so Manuel Thompson, is he passing on the traveling outside because he's the last navigator?
Yeah, he is.
Passing on his knowledge.
Yeah.
And you think so it would be possible if I can have a picture of, because I make them out of the rules, you know, you see them made out of the rules.
Yeah.
If I can make one exactly.
Yeah, I left a bunch of booklets over here with Billy and Jeff and them for you guys, so you guys can read a bit about it and stuff like that. But how many of you guys get on computers? Not here. Okay, well, maybe you can tell them one day. There's a website called Hokulea.com. There's a tracking map. So you've got like, in Hawaii, you've got like thousands of school kids daily. When they start their day, they go onto the tracking map, and it brings up the whole world view, and there's Hōkūle'a. And they've been doing that since we left here in May of 2014, right? And we started off with all the people in Hawaii. Now there's millions of people around the world tracking Hōkūle'a because they know about the canoe, they know about the mission, they know about the connection with a lot of these, with all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I know I had seen something on the news a while back when you guys coming to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And the reception that you guys got was super big, you know what I mean? It was like televised and whatnot. Is it like that everywhere you guys port? Or?
A lot of places, you know, a lot of places like New York, where there's been a group from the Voyaging Society that's gone down early, and they've engaged the community, and they told them about the canoe coming down. They told the people down there about the voyage, and then when they go on the website, they learn about it, they get kind of stoked, and how part of the arrival in these places is outreach and education and culture. Then those communities have time, yeah, to put those ceremonies together. Like right now, going to Rapa Nui, they're getting ready for the canoe. So it'll be a nice welcoming like that, but not every place. Yeah, yeah.
You guys get money offers to ride on this thing?
No.
I knew it wouldn't be like something that you guys would allow.
Yeah.
But like I was just wondering if anybody's
Yeah.
done that type of stuff.
Yeah, no. No. Okay. So let's see what's going on. So this is arriving in Aotearoa. This canoe here, this canoe's name is Natoki Mata Whaurua. It was built in the 30s. It's about almost 70 or 80 feet long, and it over 80 paddlers. This thing is wide. It's awesome, because in Aotearoa, New Zealand, they got these huge trees, huge kauri trees, beautiful wood, and they came out to greet us. And the story of this canoe for this tribe up here in the north, the tribe is called Napuhi. And that canoe name, Natoki Mata Whaurua, is one of the canoes that migrated down there. Now the story goes, it's an awesome thing. These are the kind of things we're learning, and these are the kind of connections we're making. So the navigator that discovered Aotearoa, New Zealand, his name was Kupe. And he discovered the islands, he sailed around the islands, and then he went back to Tahiti, where he's from. And the name of his canoe was Matahaurua. And he gave the sailing directions. I mean, just like a group like this, he goes, hey, huge islands. And they called it Aotearoa. Ao is a cloud, Tea is white, and Loa is what? Long. So it's a land of the long white cloud. And when you approach it, it's because when you see that long white cloud before you see the land. It's really a big island. But he gave the sailing directions. You guys go this time of the year. sail just south of the setting sun, and you're gonna see some of these little islands, and then you're gonna get to Aotearoa. And it's gonna take you this long, it's this far. And like I said, hundreds of canoes went, hundreds. They have all these, a lot of main tribes, and you have a lot of sub-tribes, but they're all, even in one main tribe, you had many, many canoes. So from this tribe, some of the canoes is Matuki Mata Whaurua, Tinana, Mamadou, Mamadi, and this goes on and on and on and on, all the different canoes that went down there. So Kupe came back, gave the same directions, canoes are going, and Kupe's grandson took his canoe and re-adzed it. So he took the adze and he re-adzed it to make it lighter so he could carry more weight. And so that's what the name Natoki Mata Whaurua means. Natoki means to re-adze the Mata Whaurua, right? And so they have all these stories and all these guys. So that's why I told you guys, when you guys meet a Maori, or if you know a Maori, you ask them, what canoe are you from? And they're going to tell you a nice story about it and their connection. Probably not only to one canoe, but a couple. Their father's side, their mother's side, and so on. Then in '99, we sailed to Easter Island to close the triangle. To close up the triangle. Yeah.
When you're going up to the H3 on the mountainside, there's a cave, and I heard a story behind it was a canoe. There's a big canoe in it, and the Smithsonian was trying to get it out, but the Hawaiians bought it and they did it. Have you heard anything about that?
No, no. But you know, I do know that, you know, when you find canoes in caves, those are burial canoes. Yeah. And the beauty of it was because we're such a canoe culture in the Pacific and in the islands that that was your mode of transportation, you know, sustenance, going out fishing and all of that. So it's kind of like when you're born, you're young, there's a canoe that's yours, you know, that you have access to. And then when you go on to your next journey, that's why they built those canoes. And not everybody was born with a canoe. I mean, it was buried with a canoe. But many of those were buried to send on to their journey. And that's why they did that. Yeah.
There's a tribe where I'm from up in Washington, because fish like, there's a big protest, they used to fish killer whales, they like one a year.
Mm-hmm.
They fish whales and stuff now.
Down here, no, they didn't fish for whales. But did you know the Haida? You ever heard of the Haida? Yeah, they're a little farther north. Haida.
Vancouver?
Yeah, right above Vancouver area. So they have the above Vancouver Island. There's a group of islands called the Queen Charlottes, and that's called Haida Gwaii. Haida Gwaii, they're Pacific Islanders. Yeah, just through, I mean, who knows, right? But just through DNA. Now the big thing is DNA. Just through DNA testing, they know that those people are Pacific Islanders. So, if you talk about this canoe culture, this voyaging culture, that started over 7,000 years ago out of Southeast Asia, like Taiwan and stuff like that. It spreads all the way across the Indian Ocean to Madagascar, and then it starts coming east through Indonesia and Philippines and Micronesia, and goes all the way across, sweeps all the way across the Pacific to the west coast of the Americas. So the Haida Gwaii up in between Vancouver and between Canada and Alaska, that's part of that. Yeah.
No, where I live in California, there's Chumash Indians.
Mm.
They used to do the same thing, sail around, island to island with community.
Yeah, that's right. And I know that when we were up in Alaska at 95, the trading route for those guys goes all the way from up in Alaska all the way down to California and inland to Arizona and stuff like that. So these canoes, it's not only for migration, it's for trading resources, it's for spreading knowledge. The same things that we do today, it's all the same. It hasn't changed. Yeah.
So like besides like keeping Hawaiian culture alive, like what is the sole purpose of like these voyages that you're going on right now?
So the voyage, so I'm glad you asked that. So, you know, what we recognize is like in '76, it was just trying to like document something that just seemed so amazing, right? And then after that, up until about 2004, 2007, the voyages are all about rediscovering cultures, other cultures, and just culturally trying to knit together the Pacific. And a lot of it was based on rediscovering as far as knowledge and culture. Now it's about discovery. So now we've kind of gone through the whole phase of like rediscovering who we are, rediscovering our connections around the world and around the Pacific. Now it's back to the original purposes of these canoes, which is to rediscover. So it's about a vision, a higher vision. So Mālama Honua, caring for island Earth. How do we do it? So it's about seeking knowledge and learning as much as we can. And so that's why if you're gonna talk about a global vision, then you got to go global. And you got to go talk to these people, and you got to see what they're doing. And it's just about planting seeds all over the place. And then after this, it's about watering those seeds, so they start growing. Yeah.
See the canoes you say then, right?
Beg your pardon?
The canoes that you say then, right? Are they like, you have to rebuild them, like antiques to work off, or you know what I mean?
Say it again. They have to what?
The canoes that you say, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, obviously they're quite old, and you have to rebuild new ones. So.
Oh, got it. Okay, got it. Yeah, eventually you're gonna have to rebuild new ones. Like so this one now. So next month she'll be 42 years old. But in 2010, we took her all apart, and we took all the rot out, and then we rebuilt her. And basically, after we put her back in the water, she's good for 30 years. But you know, I mean, like everything else, you know, it's only gonna last so long, and then they're gonna have to build another one. Beg your pardon? No, we use all state-of-the-art modern materials, and the only reason for that is so there's less maintenance and there's more sailing. So this canoe was built for Hokulea was built for one voyage, right? I told you guys, 5,000 miles, 2,500 miles down to Tahiti, 2,500 miles back. It was built for that. But she sailed over 180,000 miles up to today. Yeah, so if you go around the Earth once at the equator, that's about 24,000 miles. So try to figure out how many times she's gone around the Earth in all those decades, right? Now, there were other canoes that were built. There was a canoe called Awaikinui that was built in Tahiti to sail to New Zealand and back. So she went down to New Zealand, let's say about 4,000 miles, and they shipped her back, sat on a beach, and that was that, right? So she was built in 85. She sailed 4,000 miles, and that's that. So you see the difference between 180,000 and 4,000. The purpose, you want to be sailing. That's where the education, the learning's happening. Yeah.
When it comes to like open water repairs and whatnot like that, is every crew member, are they learned in that? I mean, are they trained in that? Do they have a part in putting it back together? So if something does happen on the open ocean,
Um,
everybody kind of knows what to do?
Not every crew member, because like a lot of voyages, nothing happens. But then some voyages where things happen and things break, those guys have the benefit of learning of how to put it back together. And basically, you just put things back together and you lash them with the rope, like how we talked about. And you know what the amazing thing is now? Even sailors, guys who are racing on these multi-million-dollar yachts, they've adapted that system of repair, of lashing. And they understand that if something's stressing and it's starting to break, or if it breaks and put back together, tying it and lashing it together is much more solid, and it's going to get them back to land better than anything else. Yeah.
Is there a reason for lashing because it flexes?
No, it's just strong. It's an old technology, it's old engineering. Once you lash and stuff like that, what you lash together, that thing ain't moving. Only the parts, the wood parts and whatever around it flexes. Much strong. It's much stronger than a nail or a bolt or anything. So like when you put two pieces of wood together, if you bolt it, and the canoe is going like this, right? That bolt eventually, the wood around the bolt will round and round and round, and you see the thing moving more. But when you lash it, it's like a spring. The thing moves and goes back to its original. And it stays like that until that rope breaks. That lashing breaks, yeah.
The dimensions of the
Hōkūle'a. The dimensions of the va'a is 62 feet long and 21 feet wide overall. And the deck in between where the guys are steering when they work is 12 by 42. The sails? The sails, we probably sail with about maybe one sail is like 400 square feet, 360 square feet. So we sail with about maybe 9 to 1,000 square feet of sail, depending on the wind. Yeah, yeah.
It's the same way as how you build the regular canoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Exactly.
I raced on the canoe for Loa'a.
Yeah,
So they didn't like put in screws, they just lashed the
Yeah.
metal bolts.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, you guys who have raced canoes or paddled canoes and stuff, that's how they do it. And that's just, you take that simple, ingenious design and you just expand it to bigger canoes. Yeah. It's old technology. It's like thousands of years old, and it's still pertinent today. So you think about like the Molokai race, when these guys race 41 miles across the Molokai Channel in those 6-man canoes. I mean, they're just like hauling ass, and the waves are pushing them all over the place. Sometimes they go over the ama. Big stress. But you know what? The things pop up, they bail out the water, and they go again. And so that technology, like I said, is like thousands of years old. And it's come down through these ages, and they use it today, and it's really awesome. And so, like I said, the modern yachtsmen, they're now adopting that in their skills for like making repairs. 2007, we went to Japan. And it's just this voyage was just part of making island connections. Yeah, a lot of Japanese in Hawaii, and they have a super rich ocean culture. But to make island connections, and this is what was part of this global voyage. And then it takes us back to that. You know who that is? You know who that is up there? That's us guys. That's us guys. So when I talk about island Earth, when I talk about systems, being a closed system, yeah, inside of this, the atmosphere, the ocean currents, all the life within the ocean and everything like that, has a sense of fragility. You know, there is a sense of fragility. I mean, you can only abuse something so long before the health of that becomes unsustainable, right? So it's like a waterway. You can only pour so much pollutants and raw sewage and any whatever into a river until the fish cannot live there, nothing can live there, and then all of that runs off into the ocean. It's, you know, spreads out all over, and it's just, you know, spreading your cancer and poison all over the place. You can only do that so long before, you know, whatever, right? And but so the idea is knowledge. That's the way you navigate to a new place. So this is the voyage we're on now. Right now they've left Galapagos. They're somewhere over here, and they're on their way to Rapa Nui. Then from Rapa Nui we'll go up here to Marquesas and down to Tahiti, and then we'll come home. So the first year, 2014, we came down here, down to New Zealand. Then 15 to Australia, and then to Bali, and then across to South Africa, right? Then we left South Africa Christmas 15. Then we came across the South Atlantic to Brazil, Virgin Islands, up to New York and whatever, came through the Panama Canal, and now we're heading home. Yeah.
Has anything like crazy ever happened to the canoe while you've been out in the waters? Like any kind of like rough water or like crazy weather that you guys
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
So
damaging like the canoe where you had
no. Just rough water though. Like had really rough from here across the Tasman Sea. Was really rough from here coming down to South Africa. Really rough in there. Going across here was kind of crazy, but for the most part, it's been okay. Yeah.
Have you seen anything strange out there?
No. Yeah.
What's your involvement?
What's my involvement? I'm one of the captains, and I help train the crew members and the navigators.
Got lost. What happened? I think it flipped over.
Yeah, so when Idiakau got lost, one hull filled up with water and swamped, and then she flipped over, went upside down.
You jump on his surfboard and you went
Well, yeah, but after kind of convincing the captain and them to let him go. Yeah.
On these long voyages, do you have an escort, or are you guys out there?
We do. Yeah. We do have an escort. We had, when we first started off from Hawaii to Tahiti, New Zealand, we had 2 canoes. So the second canoe has electric motors. Yeah. And then we picked up a motor sailor in New Zealand that's been with us ever since. The purpose of the escort is safety. So man overboard. So over here in the Indian Ocean, we had one man overboard situation. It was really rough. First thing early in the morning, and there's these guys were up in the bow. They were gonna go check the water in the bow, and a wave broke and just blasted one guy right off the bow into the ocean. It was pretty rough. So you gotta stop. We have a man overboard drill, stop the canoe. But it was because of the weather and the visibility and stuff, the guy in the water was having a hard time get to the pole. And so the escort boat came up, and we used a modern safety equipment. So on his vest, his safety vest, there's a beacon. So the guys on the escort boat, they have their computer like this with the chart plotter, and they can see where he is. Yeah. What was that? Oh no, just a harness. Yeah.
You ever see like fish the whole time?
I beg your pardon?
You guys just eat fish the whole time?
No, good question though. We're fishing. We have fishing lines out, but if we caught fish every day, we'd be happy. But it doesn't happen, yeah, and that's a special treat. But we pretty much eat with what we eat at home, yeah. So breakfast would be pancakes, hard-boiled eggs, oatmeal, stuff like that. Dinner, if we don't catch fish, is like maybe spaghetti, chicken long rice, you know, things like that. Yeah.
You guys sleep on this thing.
Okay, the next one. Okay, so this is one of our young navigators. And here's a nice picture of lashing, the lashing right here. So the question is, where do we sleep? Right above each hull, there's a canvas, and right under there, we got under the canvas. There's 5 bunks or berths on each hull, and then on top where she's sitting, just forward of that, is another bunk.
So how tall is it? How tall are the barrels?
So when you the canvas, you mean?
Well, no, like you said, it's like I forgot what you called it. It goes in the water. Like basically.
Oh, the hull.
Yep.
The hull. Okay, so like if I want to say maybe about 5, almost like 5, almost 5.5 feet, maybe. Not quite 6 feet. This is another group of young navigators. This is on the way to New Zealand. So as you guys can see, yeah, we got Wahine, we got Kane, yeah. This gal over here, yeah, she's a navigator. This gal back here, she's a young navigator, yeah.
Are these people that you hire, or is it all like on a volunteer basis?
Everybody's volunteer. And so we've had on this voyage, we've had over 300 sailors. Over 300 sailors, mostly from Hawaii, but also from Pacific Rim. And it's all volunteers. So these are youngsters that want to learn. So part of Mālama Honua is engaging, yeah? Engaging with people around the world, planting trees, learning from them what they're doing. This is a group on just recently on the last island there's at Galapagos. And they did a lot of tree planting, and they learned a lot about what they're doing and their perspective on environmental health and conservation. Tremendous. So this is a gang working together. This is on the island. You guys recognize those things? Those iguanas? Yeah, it's the ones that go in the water. But amazing, the wildlife there. There's true wildlife now. They're not afraid of man. Yeah, like if you're walking, they don't balk and run away. They just keep walking right by you. You know, unreal. And if you're swimming in the water, they just swim right by you. They don't come over and make any kind. Like even the seals and stuff like that. You see how close they are to these guys. This is a true wild place, and with the people over there, they treat it like that. Just, you know. Yeah.
That's the Galapagos Island?
That's the Galapagos Islands. Yeah. So that's where they just, let me see if I can just do this. Yeah. So right there, yeah. So that's where they just left from, and now they're about here, almost to Rapa Nui. Yeah. Yeah.
Does someone like document this stuff and like publish books based off the information that you guys collect?
What they're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Most of it now is they've been documenting. So on every voyage, there's a person from OEV TV, and so they take like hundreds. I mean, probably hundreds of photos a day, and they're sending it back with blogs and written material and stuff. And so when we come home in June 17th, we're gonna have a big homecoming celebration in Magic Island, and they're gonna show a full-length film about the 3 years and all the different stops and stuff like that. So they've documented it like that, and then there's also a lot of stuff that's been written during the voyage. Yeah, yeah.
So the deck of the canoe sits on the two holes, right, and they're lashed together.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever? I know you explained a little bit about why it's made out of fiberglass, you know. But have you guys ever thought of maybe making a set of wood holes for her? Just for
Yeah, we have.
Just for historical.
We have. Yeah, so these two halls, yeah. And then we have, but, and we did. We built this one canoe, Hōkūle'a. The logs were a gift from the native Alaskans. And so we built this canoe, Hōkūle'a. The logs were Sitka spruce. The yako, the cross members, were made from ohia. The manu and the gunnels on the side are made from koa. I mean, beautiful, amazing canoe. We sailed it to Tahiti and back, but the maintenance and the upkeep is like so massive that even that canoe, since 1995, has probably sailed about maybe 10,000 miles, maybe, since 95. Since 95, Hōkūle'a has sailed like over 100,000 miles, you know. So that's why I say the key is low maintenance, so you can go. Like when we come home this year, next year we're sailing to Tahiti again. So if you have, and it's for teaching, it's for teaching and for growth. If you have a canoe that has to come home and go into this like huge effort of like dry dock and stuff, it's so detracting, you know? Yeah.
So how long does it take to sail from Tahiti?
Good question. So the question is, how long does it take to go from here to Tahiti? The longest has been 31 days. That was the first voyage. They were stuck in the doldrums where it gets no wind for about a week maybe. The fastest was this last one in 2014. It was like 16 days with no doldrums, just, you know, going. So it's really weather dependent.
Was it 16 days?
In March, no, May of 2014. Yeah.
Do you guys carry your own filter of water? You know, like how you catch rain or whatever to like filter your water?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How cold does it get?
How cold does it get? Well, like, you see with this wind today, it's pretty cool, huh? And at nighttime it gets cooler, yeah? If you're out at sea with this wind, it probably gets about maybe another 10 degrees colder.
What's like the coldest?
The coldest was down by South Africa and New Zealand. And the south wind is much colder than the north wind, yeah? Because the south wind comes right off of Antarctica, which is basically ice. And when we're sailing down there in the southern oceans, whenever you get a south wind, it is cold, super cold, yeah.
Is there a difference between the oceans, like Pacific, Southern?
Yeah, there is. So Pacific, yeah, there is. The Pacific is a lot bigger. So where's that picture? So you see the Pacific, much bigger. The Indian was real lumpy. It was kind of crazy, but it's affected by all this. The Atlantic's kind of a good sized one, but it's compressed by Africa and South America, and then even up there, yeah. Rough. It's a rough place, but yeah, different type of ocean. Yeah.
You sound like like what is that place? The Northern Lights.
Oh.
You seen the Northern Lights out
No, not yet.
there? That's up that way, right?
Way the hell up.
Oh,
Way
so
up.
go around, like,
Way up there.
Sunset.
Well, we try to stay in the tropics, huh?
Oh yeah.
And that's like the traditional sailing of, our canoes. Yeah.
Did you ever get into an accident on the ocean?
Yeah. Well, that was the 1978 one, right? When we hoolied and Eddie Akau got lost at sea. Yeah. But you got to watch out, because you'd be amazed, how big the ocean is. Ships do hit each other. Well, they collide, they hit each other. So like when these guys are coming into South Africa, there's a real strong current that comes here. And the bad weather, the low pressure, has the winds up here, and it pushes all the waves against the current. So when they were coming in here, there was a storm, so they bolted up north and they stayed up here somewhere. There was a ship out there that basically sunk, and they lost 12 guys in that storm. So it's a dangerous place, kind of crazy. Yeah.
What's the name of the pass right there at Horn Africa?
Well, this is the Mozambique Channel, huh? This channel between Madagascar and Africa. But it's just the coastline over here, and the Cape of Good Hope is over here.
I hear that's like one of the worst places to
Oh, yeah.
sail through.
Yeah. So the current that comes through here is called the Agulhas current. It's a Portuguese word, Agulhas. But if you think about currents, because the Earth is spinning like this is what's moving all the weather and everything, right? And that's why the currents are constantly going from east to west. But they hit this, and they got to get around that thing. So right through here, this edge, current's running about like 5 to 8 knots. It's like a river. Yeah, it's like a river. Yeah.
Alright, so you've been on a voyage, right? When's your last one, and do you plan on going on another one?
My last one was from Florida down to the Caribbean and through the Panama Canal. So Saturday I'm going to go join the guys here to sail to here. Yeah. Yeah.
What was the Makali? Where's the Makali coming from there?
Oh, so Makali is it's basically quite high on the Big Island.
Yeah.
And they're still in dry dock. They're rebuilding her. Looks awesome.
Larry Berman, Consuelo, that's right.
Not Larry, but Clayton Berderman. Yeah, was the captain that kind of put all that together. He did pass away. So his brother Shorty and the niece Pomai and them are all in charge. Yeah.
How are you gonna get there on Saturday?
Here. Well, we're gonna fly Hawaiian Air to Tahiti, stay in Tahiti a couple days, and then fly on some other airlines too over there. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, you guys encountered any big rogue waves out there?
We have. So the question is rogue waves. So 2009, we went from Hawaii down here, right about here is Palmyra Island. So we sailed down there. On the way back, we went over a rogue wave. I think it was about 70 feet. We went right over this thing with this canoe. Boom. But wasn't breaking, but it was just a big wall, big mass. Yeah.
So you, as far as like the dimensions on the canoe, so it's like 60 by 20.
Yeah.
And in the picture, how high are the masts on it?
The masts are,
So I was just wondering about the length recreation.
yeah, so the mast about, the mast itself is about 35 feet, and the spars, so this is a mast, this one right here, the pueo is about 35 feet, and then the spar where the sail is hooked up to, it goes up probably about another 6 or 7 feet. So it's about 40 something feet overall. So off the water, off the deck, you're looking at like about 50 something feet off the water.
So it's pretty good. It's almost as tall as it is long.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You said your voyages have to do a lot with education and whatnot. Do you guys also share cultures with other cultures, like take a little bit of Rapapui to Tahiti or to, you know what I mean? Other than just sharing the Hawaiian culture with all the other islands, you also take their culture and share it with another one?
We don't, but a lot of times we'll take their someone from those islands, and then they'll share, yeah, the culture. So we basically share the Hawaiian culture, because that's we're Hawaiian canoe, and you know, I mean, we understand who we are, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are the shape of the sails significant? They look upside down.
Good point. They are. You know, a lot of the sails in Polynesia, a lot of the sails in Polynesia, they're like that. Yeah, they have what they call this curved boom, and the aspect, it's a tall aspect. They're really good. They're really powerful off the wind. You know, they're not really efficient sailing into the wind. But if you look at a lot of the sails, like this old rendering, like a lot of the sails for all the different islands in the Pacific, Tahiti, they're like that. But what they're finding, there was just a paper that this gal who has been doing research and this kind of stuff since the 70s, finding that these sails are like, I don't know, superior in some aspects. But it's just an old design.
Okay.
Like I remember now, I told you guys, you're talking like thousands of years, right? That this kind of craft and this technology has been around, right? And so you can imagine the constant innovations and improvements over the years. I mean, you know, we've been sailing for like 42 years, and we've already made so many improvements, you know, to the rig and everything since that time. That's only like 40, that's like our lifetime. But you take the, you know, like 3-4 generations down the road, you're gonna see probably the same canoe, but with a lot of, you know, some other different design improvements and stuff. Yeah.
Hot right there. That's for store food, yeah. Hot right in there.
Oh no, could be, but it's also for like sleeping and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. I do. That would probably be good, but they're not interested. So, you know, it's funny. All of us guys have sailed all this time. Very few, just like one or two, you know, their children want to sail. Everybody else, they're not. I mean, they've been around it for so long. They're not even interested in it.
Have you noticed civilizations that haven't been developed, just like, you know, Hawaiian stuff? Like, are they more interested in the like Hawaiians and stuff? Because obviously our technology is advancing, people are computerized and stuff like that. Like, you find people from like civilizations that aren't as technical as we are, and haven't gone into technology we have. Like, are they more interested in it?
I mean, I don't know. I never really recognized that. I see people like in Japan, they're starting up a voyaging society. You know, like I said, they're an ocean culture. They had an old culture of sailing and, you know, navigation. And so, like in New Zealand, where you know it's a similar culture, all these guys are very interested. The guys that have that that similar history, you know, of navigation, canoes, and the whole bit. They're super interested in, and they're moving ahead with it. But others that are, no, you don't see too much. Like a lot of American Indians that we encountered on the East Coast, they got their own canoe culture, but they weren't much interested, you know, in, or haven't shared any interest. Some of them have. Yeah.
You say catch fish now and then. What's the biggest fish you've caught?
You know, the biggest fish we caught was like probably like say a 200-pound marlin, 180-pound ahi. You know, too big though. You know, too big. So a good sized fish is like a 30-pound ono, you know, 40-pound ahi or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
What's your favorite sailing spot?
Favorite sailing spot? Down to New Zealand. Yeah. Beautiful island, amazing waters, and you know, sea life and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, guys? Yeah.
One quick question.
Yeah.
Do you guys have to bring like passports with you? Or?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So when we pack, like this next voyage is going to be cold down from from Rapa Nui. So Rapa Nui is south of the tropics. It's in 27 degrees south, right? The tropics end at like 23 and a half degrees. So just at 4 degrees south, much colder, but like right now, the guys are saying, "Oh, it's really cold down there." But we have a whole checklist, a gear list, and right at the top is your passport, your ID, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Curious how when when you reach each destination, when you reach, how are you greeted after?
There, how you greeted there?
How are you received by the local people?
So it depends on that culture. So when we get to Rapa Nui, you know, they'll probably, when they have the ceremony, arrival ceremony, you know, they're all dressed up in cultural garb and stuff like that. And then you have the hula troops, and then you have a chanter. So that you have a chanter comes down, will chant, you know, welcome, do a welcoming chant. Then we'll chant back, we'll oli back to them, you know, who we are, asking for permission. Then they'll say, come in, then we come in, then we'll go to an area, and then we'll share mana'o, you know, speaking. And, you know, like back in the 70s, we didn't have native speakers. Well, now on board, you got about 3 or 4. So they'll talk in their language, we'll talk Hawaiian, and, you know, and then we'll have interpreters, because down in Rapa Nui, they speak Polynesian, which is kind of a mixture of Rapa Nui and Tahitian, and they speak Spanish. So in Hawaii, we speak English mainly, but there's so many that speak Hawaiian. So we'll have all this interpretation going back from like Spanish, English, Hawaiian, all this. So you do all that, and then you have some dancing and stuff, and they share food. And then we'll do things like exchanging gifts. We also leave a pohaku there, which is like leaving a part of Hawaii there, and it helps tell the story. So I don't know if you guys have ever been down to Waikiki. Down by Waikiki, from when we were growing up, there was always like 4 big stones that were on the beach by Kuhio Beach. Those stones are put there to signify a voyage that came up hundreds of years ago, when they brought 4 healers came up from Tahiti to teach healing arts, and they were in the islands for years, and they taught healing arts. you know, resetting bones, using plants, you know, for a different type of sickness and blah, you know, all of that. And then when they went home, they left those stones there to commemorate that event. And those stones will be sitting on that beach for hundreds of years. Yeah. So we leave stones, then we'll talk story, and then they put the stones in a special place. So they already have a stone there from 99 when we were there. And they were talking about it, so we bring another one, they'll put it in another place and stuff like that. And that's how you make the connections.
So you'll be relieving the captain that's on it now? Like the captain that's
Yeah.
on it now, he'll be coming on?
All the whole gang will come home. Yeah, all 12. Yeah. Yeah.
So you say everyone's volunteers. What kind of, like, how does one come to in a position to volunteer for it?
You just go down there and you say you want to help.
You taught everything that you know.
Yep. And then you just keep coming back. So like right now, we just did a dry dock on one of our other canoes that's going to go down to Tahiti next month to join Hōkūle'a. So we took her out of the canoe, out of the water. She's out of the water for 2 weeks. We put the big email out to all the hundreds of people, and people come down, and they just help work. You know, they said, "Oh, I can only be there for 2 hours." Hey, perfect. You know, they'll sand, or they'll help go organize something, or you know, like help wash the sails or something like that. And you write, you know, I mean, there's the volunteer sheets. You put your name, the time that you've spent, and so you just stay involved. And then after that, we had a sail. So we'll put the word out. We're looking for people to go help on this sail, and then you know, you'll come down. You say, "Oh, I want to go." I say, "Okay, come down." And so that's how it just kind of rolls over time. I mean, that's how I started. That's how we all started. And they're still doing it. Yeah.
You're still great by heart.
Yeah.
By heart. And when you guys come home, do you guys still dock by Canary side?
To Kualoa, yeah.
Kualoa. You guys dock over there and then leave from there?
Well, we're gonna, yeah, it's gonna be part of the whole homecoming ceremony, going back there and honoring the place.
And so every island that you journey to, you guys beat with hard.
Yeah. Thanks, you guys. So I'm gonna leave this anyway. That's your guys' slides, PowerPoint. So, and then like I said, they have pamphlets, and there's some other stuff for you guys. Yeah, you're welcome.
So much.
Thanks.